Hey guys, I wanted to make this video here for a variety of reasons. One, it's going to be on Canvas for the whole year, and that way, if your parents or whoever needs a want to kind of know the background of our class, they can get online and watch this. Also, it just gives you an overview. I mean, you never know with what's going on if we're going to be face to face or not. But in the event that we aren't, then this also gives you an overview of what I expect in the class. And so basically, this is AP, and APUSH stands for AP US History. Honestly, that's the only time I'm ever going to say that. Otherwise, I totally expect you, when I say APUSH, to understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, APUSH. So you chose to be here, and I always kind of start with my students by saying that because this is an elective. This is something that you chose to take. So what does that tell me? What does that tell me as a teacher? Well, it tells me that you must have some interest in history, and you specifically must have some interest in United States history because you chose to take this class. It probably tells me that you're thinking about college. Now, not all of my students go to college that take AP. But considering that this is a college level course, there is a national test in May, which we'll talk about in a minute, that you have to take. It's a requirement as part of this class. So that tells me that you're probably thinking of college at some point. So that's really what it tells me, that you're in this class. If you are taking this class because you loved me as a freshman, my answer to that is thank you, but this is not freshman history. So freshman history, and I don't mean this to belittle freshmen, but it's true, and you probably know what I'm going to say. I have to be more of an entertainer in freshman history because I have everybody. I have everybody and their mother taking that class. I have no clue who likes history, no clue who doesn't. I assume the majority of my kids don't like it at all. And so I have to keep your attention. I have to make it entertaining. And now, not to say we're not going to have fun in AP. We have a blast in AP. It's a different type of blast. And so if you're expecting Mr. Edmond to be in the front of the room with AP and every day I'm dancing and singing and jumping all around, that's not what's going to happen. You're getting college professor Mr. Edmond this time. So hopefully that excites you, because what that means is we're going to go way deeper into subjects than we could do in a freshman general history class. Way deeper. So the purpose of this class is to teach you how to analytically think, and especially analytically think about United States history. And this quote here from Rosa Parks, to me, this is welcome to what we do. We look at real people and we say, why did they do this, or why did this happen when it did? What were the protests that happened in 2020 in the United States? Why 2020? Who's in the protests? Why them? How, of course, is the government responding to it? That's all part of what we do. That's part of analytical. And if you notice the quote here, it said, I had no idea that history was being made. I was just tired of giving up. And of course, Rosa Parks not getting up on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. And so that's what we're talking about. And it's what made history happen, what made these events take place. And of course, these are events that shape who we are today. And so if I say that the protests in 2020, how that just didn't fall out of the sky. So what led to, in the United States, what has led to this point? And what led to the protests in 2020 happening from our past? And what could we learn about past protests that didn't work? How can we learn how to maybe do a protest today that actually might have a bigger effect? And so that's analytical. And hopefully, you're saying to yourself, yeah, okay, this makes sense. That's a lot of what we do. The unit formats that we do, we will have 9 total units in this course. Now, they may not seem like a lot, but what that tells you is if we broke the entire history of the United States into 9 units, then the units last for a while. And so don't think of a unit as a week. It isn't. A unit, for instance, when we get into World War II later in the school year, that whole unit takes at least a month. And so when we're in the Civil War, we're actually going to read a separate novel when we get to the Civil War, and again, that's going to take a while for us to get through everything in that unit. So the units are broken down to the thing you see here. This right here is our textbook in the upper left hand corner. It is an ugly textbook. I'm not going to lie. I saw the cover of that when I got it and said, "You got to be kidding me." But anyway, I will hand you a book. Now, the reason for that is it's a college level textbook, and quite frankly, you have got to learn how to read at a college level. It doesn't mean reading a college textbook, and we'll go through this, is not reading every single word and understanding every single word that's in the book. That's not it. But it's going to be the basis of our discussions. If you've had me before, you've heard me say this. Textbooks did not fall out of the sky. Textbooks were written by human beings. They are biased. And so I want you to hopefully see the bias in our textbook with certain subjects. And that can enter in our discussion. And so, but that a lot of the time, the reading that we'll do, or the basis, the foundation of what the unit's about, we will actually start with the textbook. It does not mean that's where we live. Okay. We do a lot of discussions, guys, lots and lots and lots. In class, we'll kind of do it like you see here, the circle discussion, as I call it. And we will also, if we're online, if we're doing remote learning, we're still going to do discussions. There are discussion boards online. And quite honestly, if you go to college and you take an online class, get used to discussion boards, because that's how they discuss. That's how they see what you know, and you also respond to what other people have said too. And so, again, huge part of this class, you'll hear me harp on this. You have to be willing to read, write, and talk. You have to be willing to read, write, and talk. If you're not willing to do all three of those, then quite honestly, maybe this class isn't for you. I'm not saying that mean, but it's so true. People who participate do very well in this class. People who do not, quite honestly, don't. And so a lot of what we do is bouncing off of each other. That's analytical. And that's college level, and that's what we'll be doing. I get excited because I think this is the fun part. This is when you really get to go deep and you really get to start participating in the learning of history. And so now research is obviously a huge part of that. Whether if we're remote or in class, we're going to be doing research. And especially in class, we'll be doing a lot of presentations. But honestly, with remote learning, you're going to get computers. So you're going to have the technology to still do presentations if we go remote. And that'll be based off of your research. And part of your research will be telling us where you found the information. And so, and I'll just tell you now, Wikipedia that's not a place you cite in college for reports or anything like that. Wikipedia could be a great place to start research because it could give you information, but it's not credible in the sense that you don't know who put that information there. And we'll get into this. We'll get into critical thinking and analyzing, and how do you research, and how do you know that the information is valid. That's all stuff that we'll talk about. Document-based questions. When I say writing, if you've done DBQs before, maybe in another English class or possibly a history class, this is where you have documents like you can see here, like political cartoons, charts, graphs, could be a segment from a speech, and these do not become your answer. These help support whatever it is your answer becomes. And if that's confusing, it'll make more sense as we go. It's not a book report. You don't get a prompt and say, well, as you can see in document A, and then as you can see in document B, that is not a document-based response. It's taking evidence, and then it's kind of like being a lawyer, and then forming that evidence into what your response becomes. And again, we'll get more into this as we go, but this is part of the writing. Then we also have things like free response questions, and you can see a few of them here. Free response are kind of like open-ended in the sense that you're going to answer the question and you're providing the facts, and it's whatever you can pull out of your brain to tell me why you think your theory is correct. And so if you had me as a freshman, if you're saying, oh, this is kind of like what we did in Mr. Edmond's class my freshman year, yes and no. This is not a one paragraph response. These are more deliberate, more, think 5-paragraph essay where you're going to have a thesis. You're going to have to prove your points with documented evidence, and we'll get to that again as we go. But a lot of writing, can't stress it enough. Reading, writing, and talking. Okay. Multiple choice questions that we'll do in here are kind of like this. They're analytical multiple choice questions where you're going to have to analyze what the question is asking and then analyze why it is you're picking this one response. And so we'll see a lot of this. Most, I should say, of the multiple choice questions we will do will be on something called AP Classroom. And AP Classroom is not optional. It is something you have to do as a part of this class. Again, it's online. And it doesn't matter if we're going to be in class or remote, we're going to be doing AP Classroom. Main reason is that the multiple choice questions on AP Classroom have been created by College Board and purposely for our class. So guess what? They're preparing you for the test. And so why should I make the questions up? I'm not going to do that. I want you to do questions that College Board thinks that you should be answering about a certain topic. So multiple choice a lot of times is going to happen on the AP Classroom. And again, we'll get into how to get on AP Classroom and all of that later on. So the May test every year. This is what gets you college credit. And so it is not optional. At Columbia, and if you take AP, you are taking the test. So as we get closer, especially in the spring, to the test, of course we'll review. Of course. So I've always said that if you want to buy a type of review book, which is actually what that is, we can talk about that. But this is where AP Classroom, I think, is going to help a ton. And you don't necessarily have to buy a review book, but we can talk about that. The college-based course is on a 5-point scale. So if you get a 5 on the May test, pretty much every college in the nation, even the Yales and Harvards, will give you some college credit. For most colleges, will give you credit for something when you go to college. 3, now you're getting a little more iffy. It all depends where you're going. 3s, state schools, Bowling Green, Kent State, places like that will take 3s and give you some credit. 2s and 1s, no. You're not really going to see many colleges, especially a 1 is not going to be accepted by anybody. So really that's the breakdown of the May test, okay? But again, that's a ways off. So my expectations, energy. I need you. I need you to put the effort in. And so both verbally, written, doing the work outside of class. This is college, guys, doing the work outside of class. You're going to have to do work outside of class. You're going to have to read, take notes on your readings. I will help you with that when we get to the first one. And it really will depend on your effort. I cannot stress this enough. The reason students drop out of college is they go to college, they don't have good habits, they party or do something else and get distracted, and then they drop out because they're not going to pay to get Fs or the college kicks them out. I don't want that to be you. And so part of this class for me is helping you get ready for college. And the number one thing I've had students tell me that have taken the class, regardless of what they scored on the test, was you helped me learn how to write for college. You helped me learn how to study for college, how to read and take notes for what I'm reading for college and in whatever major you wind up doing. So that's something that I really, really press in this class. So again, you got to get involved. And I'm not doing this as a threat. When I put this in red, I'm not doing. It's the truth, guys. Every single student who's scored a 1 on AP US History in my class on the national test didn't put the effort in, and I knew it way before they took the test. I could see it coming. I knew through the discussions they're not participating in discussions. What they're saying in the discussions isn't very deep. It's surface level stuff, and so I start saying, "Are you doing the readings? Let me see the notes from the readings because you're not participating at the level I need." And so that's I can see it really, really easily. So if you're not really saying, if you're saying after all of this, I don't know if I want to do this, then talk to me. But at the same time, maybe you don't. If this seems like a lot of work and you're going, well, then I don't want you to waste your time either. So so that's when I say you must get involved. We might use Remind. I'm still seeing how Canvas is going to play out. If Canvas works as a good tool for us to communicate, we won't need Remind. But if we do, I can come back to this. I've used it in the past, especially with AP. It's a great way for me to tell you all something really fast. But we'll see. We'll see if we actually use Remind this year. Again, I'll talk to you guys. If you want to buy a review book, I always say buy it at the beginning of the year because it has all the units in it, and it will really help you, especially with the readings. It might help you with the main ideas of what the unit's all about. And so I put on there that, this copy, for instance, in 2019 was $17 on Amazon. And so, but I can help you, look for materials. But again, I would say if you're going to get a review book, get it at the beginning of the school year, because then you can take notes, you can throw things into it. It has countless practice tests and things that'll help you as the year goes on. If you buy this in April, it's almost a waste of time because you're not going to go through this whole thing in 1 month. You're just not going to do that. So finally, it's up to you. And so I'm really looking forward to AP this year. I'm really looking forward to what we can do now that I know you all have computers and you'll have that at your disposal. This should be a lot of fun. Welcome to college. Welcome to Professor Edmond instead of Mr. Edmond from maybe your freshman year or how else you might have known me. And we should have a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it, and we'll talk to you soon.